everyone, Tibbers here and welcome back to another one of my videos. Today I am joined by the incomparable Robin Nelson, the voice of Leith Pierre, head of innovation over at Playtime Co. So sit back and relax and I hope you enjoy this interview.
Normally he sits up on a shelf, but I guess he'll have to do like this. To the best of his ability, I suppose. He'll just look a little strange. There we go.
Well, thank you for agreeing to do this interview with me, Robin. I really do appreciate it, and especially giving up your free time today. It means a lot.
Hey, definitely gave me something to do. Luckily, it did not have a whole lot planned, so, no big deal. It sounded like fun. I've only done a couple of, interviews, I suppose, in my life, so it always sounds like something fun to do.
Yeah, I agree. So if you don't mind, could you please introduce yourself and let us know your pronouns?
Hi there. My name is Robin Nelson, he, him, and I am a career voice actor, I guess you could say at this point. My biggest trade, talking.
I love it. So before becoming a voiceover artist, I also know that you make content. Did you have any other life plans, or did you know that this is what you wanted to do as a career?
I think like most people, I had plenty of life plans or ideas, I guess, at the very least, ideas. Whether it was when I was really young and I wanted to be a doctor or things along those lines. But things changed right quick when I started watching YouTube videos as a kid. And I thought, okay, this is really interesting. I like this idea. You mean there's a way that anybody can build a following and a life all on their own without needing like familial help or money? That sounds pretty cool to me. And I quickly became obsessed with a bunch of creators that sort of set me along a journey.
Oh, that's awesome. So a part of that, did you do any acting classes or things of that nature?
No, I started just sort of mimicking because whether I was a kid or up to this day, I would watch so many movies. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot that I had access to growing up. I didn't get the internet until I was 13. Up until that point, I would have to walk to my local library downtown where I lived to gain access to it or go to a friend's house. So most of my life was watching the VHS tapes that my family had or the DVDs that my mom had, and I was just watching movies all the time. So really I just started mimicking what they do, how they act. A lot of movies formed my personality or characters on TV that I would get to see. So I'm just sort of an amalgamation of all of those things, but no real classes. I think the closest I ever got was working with the theater kids in high school, but I never acted with them. I was their stage crew person or one of their stage crew.
That's still really cool to know. It sounds like we definitely have a similar upbringing. I also was walking to the library every day to access the internet and mostly watched VHS tapes and DVDs and all kinds of other fun stuff.
Yeah.
So I am curious, what was the casting process like for the Leith Pierre role?
So that one's pretty cut and dry. So there wasn't really a whole process that I remember. I just remember the fellas, they sent me a message on Discord one day. Hey, we're working on this game. Here's a quick rundown. We were wondering if you would be willing to lend your voice to this character we wrote. So whether they wrote it with me in mind, they specifically did seek at least me out. They probably thought about doing it themselves and then thought, well, maybe we should get someone else. But I do distinctly remember when they came to me, it wasn't just that character. He was part of it, but the intro to the beginning of the first game where that guy comes on screen in live action, I remember they asked me to dub his voice. They wanted me to be him as well, whoever that is. There is actually a little bit of my voice left in that opening FMV, I guess you could call it, where I talk about the factory tours being like $3.99 a person or whatever. That's still my voice, but that's the one no one really latched onto.
What's the time? Playtime!
And if you've ever wanted to see how all of the nation's favorite toys were created, Playtime Co. is now offering factory tours at just $2.99 a person. An entire hour in the most magical toy factory on Earth. What are you waiting for? Come visit the factory. We can't...
That it was something they came to me for. I didn't have really much experience with dubbing or anything, so they eventually, one of them did it themselves in the end. But yeah, Leith Pierre was more of a, hey, we have this guy, we think you could do him pretty well. You want to give him a try real quick? That's perfect, awesome. And now I've been the head of innovation at Playtime Co. ever since.
which you have a phenomenal voice for. When I think of Leith in general, I work in corporate life as well. Everything else I do is part-time. So you have one of those voices that's very commanding, authoritative, and it just works so well for that character. So I think they made an excellent choice picking you. Perfect.
I'm glad people think so, because my voice actors, I'm sure a lot of them can relate, where unless we're doing a crazy different voice, a lot of the times we think, I just sound like me. And Leith Pierre's not too dissimilar from myself. I mean, he's a little gruffer, and whatever, a little bit. But I don't know, when you spend your whole life listening to people and trying to mimic them, you start to recognize every voice. So whenever I'm watching an animated movie, I'm like, I think I know who that is. You can just kind of tell. But I'm glad that people agree or seem to agree with each other that I was a good fit for that. Because, you're always thinking, was I really? Okay, no, you guys think it. That's all that matters.
Exactly. So in the lore of the game, we discover that Leith Pierre is obviously not a good noodle. As more of the lore has been revealed to you, did that help with your inspiration as you voice more and more content of Leith?
I would definitely say so. Obviously, with each game, direction sort of changes a little bit, at least in how they tell me to do things. But one thing that's remained consistent is, he slowly gets more and more evil, clearly to the player at least. So as time has gone on, he's gotten a little darker, a little creepier, a little more unhinged. And I'm just waiting for the day they come to me and they say, yeah, you're completely crazy now. It's really helped. It's very, very fun getting to play an evil character. I've played a few evil characters, but more in like comedy stuff. But I've always wanted to be a super crazy bad guy. He's like, Leith Pierre's not really funny. He is just creepy at the end of the day. It's very fun. As more and more of his story is getting revealed, I like being able to utilize that. Even if, again, the direction is a little bit different, I like getting to take him down farther and farther into this well of creepiness, for lack of significantly more comprehensible metaphor. But yeah, I'm not able to maybe use as much as I might want, again, due to like the way they want me to do him, but I'm still able to put my stamp on him after all this time.
I love that. It's so funny you mentioned enjoying playing a villainous character, because when I interviewed Elsie Lovelock, that was something we all agreed on, is that playing a villain is so much more fun. Okay, it's fun to be a hero, but also being the villain allows you to tap in and just be a little bit more creative and just go off that edge.
Yes, 100%. It really lets you tap into a lot more. Not to say that we all have like a little bit of evil to tap into, but more, it's just fun. Sure, being the hero can also be incredibly fun, but being the crazy, like, you get to do a lot more, I think. You're much less restricted when you get to be the crazy psychopath than,
Exactly.
The hero who needs to be the hero.
Exactly. So obviously, as you explained, they reached out to you over Discord for this role. What about Poppy Playtime, when they were describing it to you, drew you to it, and have you played any of the games at all?
So what drew me to it was horror. Just give me a horror game. I've always wanted to be in a game. I mean, when you do voice acting, especially for so long, you've got certain goals, certain checklist, if you will, of things that you gotta do. Being in a horror game was at the top of the list alongside being in a game. So I got to check off both with one, because I'm a big, huge horror game fan. More specifically, survival horror, less like, I guess, Poppy Playtime falls into this new subgenre that people call like mascot horror, I suppose.
Yeah.
But still, I wanted to be in something scary. I may not be the monster, but I kind of am the monster in a certain way, just not the one that jumps out at you. So it really just, the genre in general was what made me think, oh, okay, so I get to be in a game and I get to be in a scary one. That's pretty cool. Like, all right. Like I said, two birds, one stone right there. And now I'm kind of, it sort of changed a lot of my direction, my heading going forward. And now I really, really want to start getting more into games. As one of my biggest inspirations in general is Troy Baker. When I first played BioShock Infinite, I was like, what's it like voice acting for a video game? And that was quite some time ago at this point. And I started learning all about him. And so from that moment on, I was like, ooh, I would love to be in a game in some way. So they just plopped it down in front of me. No way I could say no to that. And it got to be scary.
Yes. That's phenomenal. From what you've seen of all three chapters, what is your favorite character or monster from Poppy Playtime?
Ooh. So this is going to sound a little weird because I'm really bad with names. I think it's he's from, or he made an appearance, or his first appearance in Project Playtime, I think. Foxy Boo, is that
Yeah,
right?
Boxy,
Yeah,
the one
him.
that's up behind me.
Yeah, definitely that guy. I don't know what, I mean, obviously I love all the designs. They're all crazy and horrifying, but there's something about that one that I thought went like an extra mile, so to speak. We all love Huggy for sure. He's the face of it all,
Mhm.
but there's something about him and his design, being the creepy Jack in the Box demon creature.
They did a phenomenal job with designing Boxy, in my opinion, because also, just in general, a lot of people have anxiety with those type of toys that just pop up like that. So I think it was a phenomenal idea to go in. So yeah, I agree with you. Boxy's a phenomenal character, and I like your answer for that. Is there a moment from the Poppy Playtime games that made you just go, "What the hoot"?
Like, I think it was probably when I was recording some lines. I think it was for chapter 3. In particular, where Leith Pierre starting to really bring the hammer down on someone in particular during some experiments, and just the things he says to this character. You deserve to be here, so on and so forth, things of that nature. It really sold. Okay, so I mean, sure, there's that happy facade that in and of itself is creepy, but there were some really, 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 I think it really settled in or sold the idea that there's some freaky stuff going on in here. As if the monsters weren't enough,
Yeah.
and all the dead people and or missing people, I guess, at this point weren't enough. Sometimes you just need like that one line, I guess, that really sells it once and for all. You're like, okay, yeah. So what's going on here is far beyond just not normal. It's demonic. It's supernatural. Something really scary is going on here.
So Poppy Playtime is being made into a movie, which all of us partners in crimes and the fans are super excited for. If asked, would you voice a character for the movie, or even just be in the movie?
Oh God, my like ultimate goal, as just as reference as a kid, was always to be like in a movie, even if it's like a cameo role. And I've talked to anybody that I can, anybody that I can get a hold of over at Mob. I've been like, hey, I'm sure you have been asked a lot, because yes, I absolutely would. I would do just about anything to physically be there, or just be a quick voice or something. Obviously, the gold medal there would be getting to still be Leith Pierre, but live action movie or whatever it's going to be, we're not sure at all
Yeah.
what they're going to be doing. But I absolutely would. I think it would be super fantastic, and again, one of those like bucket list items for sure. But I've been asking around, like, what can I do? Are there any ideas, any plans? I think a lot of people have brought that, like the voice actors have all like come forward and said, can we get like a cameo? That'd be super cool.
Mhm.
So we'll see. I mean, I'm not gonna hold my breath, because it's the movie business. It's a big movie too, not just a little, hey, we're barely gonna get this made thing. Because from what I saw, they're working with, was it Legendary
Yep,
Pictures
they're working
that's
with
doing it? So
Legendary.
yeah, the Godzilla folks. Yeah, okay, yeah,
And Tomb Raider.
and Tomb Raider. Yeah,
Yep.
there you go. So another video game adaptation, but I guess this one's completely different from what we've seen with video game adaptations in the past. But yeah, so to summarize, I absolutely would, and I really hope they let all the original VAs at the very least have like some kind of cameo, even if it's just a scream in the background. I think it'd be really fun.
Yeah, I've been saying the same thing. I just, as a partner, there's probably less likelihood of me getting in, but I have been just like, dropping little hints. I'm like, I don't even care if my face is on a flower pot. That would be enough for me. But I would love to go see the set. I know that they brought some creators out for the FNAF movie. I would love to do something like that. But no, I agree. When I talked with Elsie, when I talked with Baldwin, they both were just like, Elsie specifically said, I want to be mommy, because it would be really weird for me to hear someone else voicing her. And then
Yeah.
Baldwin was just like, I would love to play, be the physical embodiment of Harley Sawyer. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
I also agree. I could also see you playing Leith. I think that would be phenomenal. And Mob, if you're listening, take notes. Seriously.
It would be really fun. I don't necessarily know how old Leith is, or how we've never seen him, to my knowledge. We don't know what he looks like, but I think I could pull it off. If I have to go gray or something like that. He seems like a slightly older guy, but
Yeah.
even if it's just the voice, absolutely, I can totally see where else he's coming from there for sure. When you've put a lot of time into it, even if it's something where you record a couple hours every year or so, it's still an important thing, because the game was a very life-changing thing. Never before has anything I've ever been involved in or done or worked on resulted in basically every single one of my friends, from people I haven't talked to for a decade to folks I talk to every day that don't necessarily play games like that or even watch content creators play games like that. Every single one was just blowing up my phone the day that, you know, like Markiplier was playing it, Jacksepticeye was playing, and all these people, they're like, hey, I was just watching a Let's Play from this giant creator, and was that you? There's no way, right? Because a lot of your friends are going to be able to recognize you.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to go, even if you do a silly voice, they'll be like, oh, hold on, I think that's him. So then they'll obviously make sure. They're gonna talk to you and double check. And it was a big life-changing moment. So I can see the importance of something like that. You don't necessarily want to hear somebody else doing something that, while I will say Leith Pierre is not mine, we don't own our characters or anything like that. They're very special to us. You know, it's like if they recast, like, let's say Mario, which they did, you know, that was a very well done, well handed down position. Or like if they recast Mickey again or something like that. Not to say that this character or these characters are on the same level, but they're just as important to us as they would be to those other performers.
Agreed. So speaking of Jacksepticeye, you had the amazing opportunity to act alongside him in Chapter 2. Tell me what that was like, and did you have a good laugh with the "get me a cup of coffee, never mind, get out of my sight" bit?
I definitely had a good time with the "get me a cup of coffee" bit. I like that line a lot.
You're out of line, Marcus. We make toys, not monsters. Now come on, get out of my sight. Actually, grab me a coffee, will you? Actually, never mind. Get out of my sight.
But for that bit, we did our stuff completely separately. It would have been cool if, you know, for whatever reason, I was just phoned in and yelling at Jack live. I think that would have been plenty hilarious, but it was just the director sat down with me and had me do my lines and react, because they already filmed his bit, or they already got him to film his bit. So I was just reacting to him. I still wasn't doing it in real time or anything like that, but I wish it had been done with both of us there in some way. I think that would have been really fun. But I do love that line a lot. As someone who has been seeing him for years, I thought it was kind of funny that I am in this role where I'm bossing him around and he has to pretend to be scared of me.
It was a really cool moment. And if you come across this video, I think you both should get together at some point, maybe actually do this, film it in person. That way, I think that would be great.
It's a good Halloween costume idea. He'll be his character, I'll be Leith, and I'll just yell at him all of Halloween.
I would love it. So in Chapter 3, Leith has a sit-down interview with Catnap, and when she scolds Catnap by his real name, Theo.
Okay, this is Catnap, experiment number 1188. What's his real name again? Okay. Hey, Theo. How you doing, bud? Normally I'd have Dr. Sawyer do this, but he's, out, let's say. So you got me until they find his replacement. First off, congrats. This is officially your 4th year in your new body, and you've made some real progress, pal. I was told that when you and the other smiling critters, you know, Dog Day, Picky Piggy, yada yada yada, were added into play care, that you weren't really getting along too well with the kids like everybody else was. But look at you now. The kids love you. And that bred smoke. I mean, that's fantastic, isn't it? Is his, voice thingy still broken? Prototype will save us. Theo, nobody's gonna save you. This prison is where you belong. We'll let you out here and there to go see the kids in play care, but your home is here. And as for the prototype, his home is in the labs. This is your life now. Get used to it.
Did Mob provide you any background in regards to Catnap's character or story at all?
A little bit. Not too much, though. My mind is unfortunately a little fuzzy when it comes to specific lore details, even for ones that might be super fresh in my mind. But they didn't provide too much. Generally, I just get a sense of, all right, so this is how the scene is feeling. You know, it's heavier this time, so we're gonna go this direction. But they don't usually give me a whole lot in terms of lore. They'll just quickly explain, oh, so this is why they're here. This is what they're doing, which gives me enough. You know, I don't necessarily need like the lore Bible or anything to come out every single time, even though I do wish sometimes that I could get it, because I think it'd be really handy for me to be able to read up on it sometimes. But generally, for the most part, it's a lot, I guess, simpler than that. Maybe it's just for time. They don't want me to take a day and a half to get into character. So
Yeah.
they'll generally just say, yeah, this is what we're doing here. This is what they're doing here, why they're here leading up to this point, and then we'll go off.
Okay. That's very interesting to know. So could we potentially see you come back in Poppy in a potential another role, or is Leith probably going what we're going to see till the end?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I've made it pretty clear to them every single time that I have gone in to record that I would love to do anything at all, even if it's smaller little things here for, I don't know, sound effects or efforts, whatever. It doesn't really matter. I would like to be useful in other places as well, because I love playing Leith for sure. But I don't know. I've made it clear, like, hey, please, if anything comes up, whether it's an audition or you just want me to do something real quick, just let me know. But if I had to guess, they probably just need me around for Pierre, until the end, whenever that end will be, because I'm not sure, but they know I'm game always.
So you do have an extensive list of projects that you have been a part of, including Mike and Zach, Pimations, Fazbear and Friends, and Suction Cup Man. Tell us more about some of the inspirations for those characters in those projects.
So those are all hilarious. When it comes to Suction Cup Man, Mike and Zach, Pimations as the whole umbrella for those series, I can tell you, for instance, Suction Cup Man, for any fans of that, I wasn't there for the first conceptualization of that very first video, but I know what happened. And it was around the time when the actual guy was climbing Trump Tower with suction cups in New York, I think. And the news story was breaking live, and it was real weird. And while Zach, Mike, and another one of our friends were just sitting in a call hanging out, one of them, I guess, piped up with a joke about this guy and sort of started riffing. And that is why we have the character Suction Cup Man and the other character Business Guy, because those two friends who are voice actors just started riffing, and Mike thought, well, this is a really funny idea. And then, boom, there you go. You've got the lineage now of Suction Cup Man, a great animated character on YouTube. And when it came to Mike and Zach, that's just Mike, who is Pimations, and Zach, who is our roommate and longtime friend and also lifelong voice actor at this point. They lived together for a short period of time, like 6 months, and they just came up with the idea of what if we created a fictional universe for caricatures of ourselves to exist in, and we can do whatever we want with them. And that's how that series came to be. And I do a lot of writing for Mike and Zach specifically. I've helped out with writing on Suction Cup Man. They're my favorite projects to be a part of. We have almost no constraints whatsoever when it comes to that, except for time and anything budgetary when it comes to those. And the most recent Mike and Zach is probably the funniest thing that I have ever seen, and I had nothing to do with it at all. It's great having those other outlets, so to speak. I don't get to write a whole lot, so whenever the chance comes up with Mike, I got to be there. I can't miss it. And right now we're rewriting Suction Cup Man 5, and we've had many a conversation about Suction Cup Man, like the movie, and really going after that, having a theatrical release and all that fun stuff. We just have these blue sky aspirations for sure, and someday something will come of it. But for now, it's just a fun thing that I get to do on the side. And Fazbear and Friends is actually how I was asked to join Poppy Playtime, just in general. I worked a lot with them because the voices I did for Mike turned into, we really like your Foxy voice. Will you do it for us?
Yeah.
So I said, hey, Mike, you don't really mind, do you? And of course not. And they actually, I think, the Zaminations guys just asked me back to do a little bit more Foxy for something. I'm not sure exactly what it is. Again, I have no details on that, but it's great getting to, even if it's a character that's not, of course, again, not mine, and something that's not canon, that's another voice I really, really hold dear as well. Because again, even though I've never played him in like the games or anything, I feel like I am the parody spoof outside of game universe Foxy, kind of, at this point, for the most part. I use words like kind of and for the most part because I never want to be the guy that's like, oh, I'm definitely the other Foxy.
Yeah.
I'm not that type of guy at all. I don't know how people think of the voices, but I think of him as being incredibly important to me, again, even though he's not the Foxy from the games. But gosh, yeah, just thinking about it now, Pymations, working with Mike and Zach and all those folks is probably going to be the most important part to me of my lineage, no matter where I go, whether I, blow up or continue to sort of be where I am for many, many, many more years. Working with those guys is the true beginning of where I am now, I guess.
I love that. Speaking of Foxy, tell me, what is your favorite little bit that you've got to do as Foxy in this videos?
I think the funniest thing I got to do, in regards to whether it's from Mike's videos or the Zamination's crew, I really liked the Zamination animations a lot. One in particular, I loved there was the girl Foxy where she comes in and starts trying to steal his spotlight.
Oh, in the name of...
Strike me down! That'd be the funniest costume I've ever laid me optics upon.
Costume? I'll have ye know that I'm a genuine, bona fide terror of the high seas.
Right, and I be Captain Crunch. Please, I can tell an imposter when I sees one, considering I be an actual pirate captain.
Be that so? Then where's your hook, lass?
You mean me cutlass? Hooks be so 1700s.
Oh,
I love that entire bit. I think that was the most fun for me to record, just because I got to be really loud and really crazy. And Foxy's one of those voices that I kind of need to be a little louder in general to do. Yeah. And that was probably the most wild I ever got to go. Just that whole short.
That's a good one. So while prepping for this interview, I discovered that you might be a fan of Ghostbusters via your IMDb page. And then I watched the video over on your YouTube that the photos were from. I am a huge Ghostbusters fan myself, so I have to ask about your thoughts in regards to the franchise and what is your favorite Ghostbusters film or other Ghostbusters work that might be your favorite.
When it comes to my favorite Ghostbusters, I'm one of those people that's just, I love the first one, the original. I actually did finally get around to watching Frozen Empire, and while I wasn't expecting a whole lot, Ghostbusters has had this really weird shift in the past 10 or so years where it's gone from a silly comedy with some serious micro moments throughout it to a very reverent franchise that's cool and serious in a lot of ways, but with a style of humor that I don't really vibe with too much anymore. And I liked Frozen Empire. I think I liked it a little bit more than Afterlife. I still haven't seen 2016, but I'm a one guy. I'm a one guy for sure.
Yeah.
There's just something so, it's hard to describe. I remember seeing someone, I think maybe it was on Twitter or a video about it some years ago, where they mentioned that Ghostbusters is a movie about nothing. And what they meant by that was, it's not literally about nothing. Obviously, it's about a bunch of scientists who discover ghosts and the afterlife and everything like that, or other worlds and whatnot. And it's funny, but the idea of it being about nothing, that there's no lesson that's a part of it. It's just a story. The story doesn't have you're supposed to take this away from it. It just is what it is. All the characters at the beginning are the exact same as they are at the end, or vice versa, I guess, at that point. There's just something so nice about that. I love media that tries to teach you a lesson and gets you to look a little bit deeper into things, but there's also something to be said for how difficult it can be to write something that doesn't have a lesson and have billions of people like it. Because generally, if you don't have those lessons, people don't connect with it as well. But I guess in Ghostbusters' case, it's one of those very few that absolutely did. They somehow nailed it, and I don't know if it's I'm just not. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that one actually stuck around as long as it did, all things considered. And there was really nothing like it. It was just goofy ghosts that are a threat, I suppose, but we have a way to capture them and put them in a box. There's so many silly elements of Ghostbusters I love, but I think what I really appreciate is that it's not about anything. It's nice to just turn your brain off, giggle at the silly ghost movie.
Yeah. It's a really good buddy. I've always sort of described it as like a dark comedy, buddy comedy film, because I think it drew a lot of people in from the supernatural aspect, but also it had this phenomenal cast of just great actors and great comedians. And I feel like that was what really kind of sold it for people. It didn't really need to have, a moral to the story in the end. It's just more of just like friends trying to do what's right in the world. So
Yeah.
it was just a great movie from me from that standpoint. So I'm with you. The first one's always going to be my favorite, number one always. But I did see through those photos that you have a pretty accurate Ghostbusters look. I'm more curious about your proton pack though. Is that one you've built yourself, or how did you come by it?
Actually, hang on a second. I've got it sitting in the back here. Ugh. So, this one, funnily enough, is from Spirit Halloween.
Okay.
Now, Spirit sells two versions of the pack. They've got like a cheap one that's a lot smaller, a lot cheaper as well, because now, Spirit. But this one was like their super crazy deluxe pack where they tried to make it as movie accurate as possible. It's huge. I think it's like a proper scale size and everything like that. And I remembered when we were conceptualizing the silly video, I thought, well, look, I've got to have it as accurate as I can. And at the time I was working at Spirit Halloween, so I got a pretty nice discount on it, thankfully.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, I need to have it as cool as possible, especially for a video where we're going to have a couple of close-ups of it. I don't want it to be one of the cheap, crummy ones. I try to go the extra mile where I can, but yeah, this is just Spirit Halloween's like super expensive deluxe version of it.
It's a good pack. So in preparation of this question, I grabbed mine as well so I could just show it to you. I have the Afterlife pack. So
Ooh.
it's fully scaled and working. Hold on, let me turn it on. Completely lights up, does all the cool stuff, controlled by the wand and everything. It does a whole bunch of different stuff. It's completely customizable, so I can take it apart and make changes to it if I want to, kind of like make it my own. But I
wish I could do that.
Yeah, as a huge Ghostbuster fan, getting this was a big deal for me, and I actually got it through Hasbro. Hasbro does their HasLab, and they did a proton pack, and they are just now about to ship out the PKE meter from Afterlife and Frozen Empire and the Ghost Trap, which I'm really excited to get those as well, because I did back those as soon as they dropped.
Oh man, yeah, I just had to do that a little Google there. My goodness. Whew, all right. It's funny, once I started like searching around for the best Ghostbuster stuff I could get that wouldn't be way too expensive for a video like that. Of course, you go to eBay and you're looking at stuff and you'll learn about all these things that like all these old Ghostbuster toys and outfits and stuff that were officially licensed and they look really, really good. And it sucks to think, I missed out on all of them because now I got to have like $2,000 if I want to get them.
Yeah.
That sort of sent me down this funny road of whenever something in particular that I know I'm going to want comes up, I have to jump on it. Like with like Silent Hill 2, for instance, Konami has released 2 jackets for the main character. And the second they announced they were doing that first jacket, I pre-ordered it, like pre-paycheck and all. I'm like, I got to get that because if I don't, it's going to be $20,000 on eBay in like 2 years. So,
exactly.
It just... Unfortunately, companies know that this works on us, though. That thing is so damn cool. They're all just so neat. I had no idea how much Ghostbuster stuff was really out there until finding that and wanting to make that video.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot. There's even communities that can help you build your own, like, and just make it accurate as possible, which I didn't know about all that until I did my own research. But just seeing just how far the fans will go and on any type of franchise, it's really cool. But I'm also that stickler. Like, I like official merch too.
I like the licensed bit because they are generally able to go the extra mile in making it as accurate as possible. Because I don't want something that is 40% of the way there or good enough. I mean, when it comes to like my James cosplay, it is close enough because some stuff you just can't find. But like, for instance, when I was putting that outfit together, I noticed that from the game, the first game anyway, or the original game, he has biker boots with a harness on the side of them. And most people don't either notice that detail or try to find that exact like boot. But I spent like a month of searching just to find the exact one. And I did eventually find it, but I could see why people wouldn't necessarily want to every single time. But yeah. I'm a stickler. I want to make it as close as I possibly can without learning how to completely create stuff from scratch just yet.
I love that. So I did see on your Twitter that Alan Wake 2 might be your favorite game of all time. Tell me more about why it might be.
It's surprising that I will stick by that as well. Alan Wake 2, or really anything that has come from Remedy since the first Alan Wake, as I, unfortunately, even though I own the games, have not played Max Payne 1 and 2 yet, or their very, very first game. Something about Alan Wake, when I first played it maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I mean, I played it a tiny bit here and there since then, but I never really stuck with it. But there was one time I loaded it up and I couldn't put it down, and I think it must have been because I finally got around to watching stuff that influenced it and its creation. And I fell in love with, like Twin Peaks. I just got obsessed with the X-Files. I was really, really hooked on. So I'm seeing all of these things that it inspired it and helped create it, I suppose, I fell in love with. So when I got around to playing the game, like once and for all, I was like, oh man, what in the world have I been missing out on? And had so many little elements about it that were just perfect for me, like being able to watch the Night Springs episodes on the TV, and that's all from the first game. So I was obsessed with it for a good little while, and then I distinctly remember sitting down in the living room. We were watching, I believe it was the Game Awards 2022 or something like that, or maybe it was Summer Game Fest or something, but they announced it, and it didn't hit quite at first what was being announced, but man, I have never played a game quite like it. There is something so unique, and I see a lot of people share the same opinion of it who have played it as much as I have, or really tried to dive deep into meaning, because that's like the opposite of a story like Ghostbusters. There is so much to take away lesson-wise from Alan Wake 2. I just never seen anything like that before. A AAA title that, sure, they had to fight a little bit to get everything that they wanted in there, but if they had to give up the musical sequence We Sing, the game would have been half as brilliant to me. Them getting to unabashedly tell the story they want to tell, or Sam and Clay, I believe his screenwriter, I really hope I'm getting that name correctly. I'm very bad with names, but just getting to make that seems insane, especially in this game dev environment where no matter how good a job you do or how well it's received or how much money it makes, you could just lose your job tomorrow for some strange reason. And Remedy's always been there, specifically going out of their way to make deals that get their games paid for, where they're safe. Like, they got paid to make the game. They might make royalties, whatever, but that's not their concern right now. We just want this kick-ass product to come out. And in playing Alan Wake 2, it further cemented, what my favorite subgenre of storytelling is. Like, I always make this joke where my favorite shows or movies or stories in general are about person goes to small town magic, weird stuff happen, things like that. There's just like Gravity Falls as well. That's another perfect example of small town weird thing happen.
Oh, Gravity Falls, it is good to be back.
Right. Yep. And in playing Alan Wake 2 again and again and again, I found that just Remedy and Sam Lake, probably my current biggest inspirations in general for anything I might want to do as like a more serious thing in the future, because they're not really about comedy necessarily.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Alan Wake 2, they just had like their last DLC, their last expansion, the Lake House, and not exactly like a well-hidden message in that one, but it really speaks a lot to today and the issues of today, whether it's regarding game development or a lot of people who are using generative AI to not need to work on skills to better themselves at something. It's just all of these things that they're able to weave into this kooky story about a guy who got lost in hell because he wrote a story too well. There's just something that scratches so many itches in my brain that I never knew I had. And I don't know. I can't wait to see what the hell Control 2 is going to be, or Alan Wake 3. I hope we get to see it. And speaking of, that's like sort of the ultimate life goal, is to get to be in a Remedy game at this point after playing Alan Wake 2. So here's hoping that comes to fruition in the future as well.
And here's hoping someone from Remedy comes across this video, here's the message, and it's like, all right, we're going to make this happen.
See, there you go. That's great. The hope.
So actually, this is going to spawn another question. Alan Wake recently came to Dead by Daylight. I'm not sure if you know what Dead by Daylight is. It's an asymmetrical horror game. Has a lot of different IPs. Have you played it, and what were your thoughts on it?
I have been seeing from like my screen, like I'll watch stuff about Dead by Daylight every now and then. I remember when he was announced for both Fortnite and Dead by Daylight, and I thought, You know, that's great. I really like seeing Alan sort of get his dues in some way. It's a great way to advertise him, first of all. You know,
Mhm.
a trillion and a half people playing Fortnite are going to go, who the hell is Alan Wake? And whether they buy his skin or not, I think it's a great way to get people back to go, I guess I'll give that game a try, especially since it's like one of the cheapest AAA releases I've seen in a very long time. And in Dead by Daylight, I thought it was fantastic that they got Matthew Peretta, his voice, to
Yeah.
come in and play him. And man, he really clocked into work that day. I mean, you can tell the difference between 1 and 2. He has gotten a lot better at understanding the character and really letting loose with him for sure. But in Dead by Daylight, they really let him go wild.
They did. They
Yeah,
absolutely
it's
did.
great. I love seeing him in other games. I'd like to see Alan Wake everywhere. I just want to see more from Remedy in general. I appreciate their everything, I guess.
I love that. And as a side question, what were your thoughts on the new Silent Hill 2 game, the remake?
I thought it was fantastic. I know that myself and my friend Zach were very hesitant at first. Neither one of us were super married to the original. We love the original. I own it. It's sitting up on my shelf right now. We love it. It's a fantastic game. But we weren't as married as, say, someone who bought it when they were 17 from GameStop when it first came out 23 years ago and fell in love forever. I understand the more hardcore fans that have been fans for so long being hesitant. And even we were hesitant, especially with Bloober's name being attached. And
Yeah.
it wasn't unearned, but I can safely say after playing through that sucker a few times now, Bloober did understand they had something to prove, and they proved that they were the right choice for it. And honestly, I wouldn't mind if Konami went back to them for Silent Hill 1 and maybe 3 remake. I just think it was great. They got it.
I kind of hope that they do. I'm also a really big fan of Silent Hill. So when I played Chapter 3 of Poppy Playtime and we have the nightmare sequence once you go into Home Sweet Home, and I'm like, oh my God, this is PT. This is PT 100%. I was just so excited just to even have that reference for a game that wasn't made. It was still related to Silent Hill, and it actually meant a lot to me to see that.
It's nice that people will never let PT die, and I am one of those people, even though, funnily enough, I never got the chance to play it. I know there are people trying to sort of rebuild it and recreate it for PC, but you just can't beat that original experience, I guess.
Yeah.
What I will never, ever, ever let anyone forget, and a lot of us Silent Hill fans are the same way in this thought process, is Silent Hills will never be forgotten. I think even if it was like a crappy game, which I doubt it would have been, it probably would have been one of the most unique experiences ever made in entertainment ever, considering the names behind it at the time. And I cannot believe Konami purposefully let that one go, or let it die, or forced it to die as they did. So, I mean, Konami's doing a pretty good job of making themselves look better now after many years of just hating games and hiding IP. But Silent Hills, they got a lot of work to do before I'll ever consider forgiving them for that one.
I'm in the same boat with you. So I do have to ask, what was it like working with the Zamination team in general? And I know you already mentioned that they've already contacted you to do something Foxy related, but is there anything else coming up from them that we could potentially see you in?
Nothing I'm super sure of at the moment. I mean, yeah, they asked me about something Foxy related. Again, I don't know what, if anything, that will entail, but I hope so. Because again, with them, I made sure to let them know, like, hey, I love doing Foxy if you ever need him or anything adjacent to that, but I would love to audition for anything else you guys want. I love doing the work that, like, I love their animation. They are so good. Like they posted that little teaser on both their Blue Sky and their Twitter of their upcoming, I think, Lethal Company animation. Yeah. And holy crap, I saw a bunch of people going, they could have done this whole time, because they've had a very, blocky Minecraft inspired style up to this point that also looked amazing. But I was like, yeah, you guys didn't know that they're incredible. Just you wait. This is going to be amazing. I don't know anything about it, but you're going to love it for sure. And I know I am too. It's always great working with them, and I hope I get to continue forever, really, as long as they want me. I'm there.
I love that. So I've watched your content on both your channels. It's hilarious. You're a phenomenal content creator. You have a lot of humor in what you're doing, and you're very creative in many ways. I'm curious, have you ever thought of being a comedian or writing for shows like Saturday Night Live? Because you're that good.
I had thought about SNL a few times growing up, for sure. I'm definitely too scared to ever try something like that. Because for me, I mean, I wouldn't mind. I know all the actors at SNL also help write and everything. It just scared me because I learned what the audition process was like. I've never tried to be funny in front of people before, and I know I wouldn't be like a great stand-up comedian. I would give it my all, but my stuff at that point, I don't think it would land very well. Not to say that it's painfully unfunny, but I'm better in certain, I guess, contexts or environments. Like most of my ad-libbing experience comes from, being in a game and making jokes about the game we're in. It's easier to work off of than, I don't know, a room full of people. That it almost feels like audiences that go see a comedy show it almost feels like they're a little hostile, like they kind of want you to bomb so they have a better story for the night or something like that. Might be a more pessimistic look on it. That's definitely not what's happening, but I don't know, you see so many videos of comedians like having to turn an audience around or something. And when I going back to SNL, when I learned what the audition process was like, it's the entire idea is to see what you're like when you're bombing. All the producers, writers, whoever are actually doing your audition, they're told not to laugh. They can't laugh. They just have to watch and take it in to see how you do. And I get it. It makes total sense because on SNL, there's a lot of bombing. I mean, SNL's great. They're historic. I genuinely think they're amazing, if maybe not a little long-winded in a lot of their jokes, but it makes total sense. I think I'd probably explode if I tried to audition to work at SNL, even as just a writer, My biggest thing is I just never know how to pursue stuff like that. I've gone in such a different direction that there are a lot of things I didn't learn. So I got to go back. I got to take a few steps back and maybe figure that out. But I know my mom would gas me up like, yeah, you're hilarious. You could totally do it. But I'm not so sure about those specific things.
That's understandable. I'm personally not great at stand-up comedy myself. I'm more of an improv comedy type person. I am better coming up with stuff off the cusp than I am being, trying to come up with a joke itself. So that's where my route went. But moving to the next question, I noticed you had a few tattoos. Tell me about your favorite one and if you have any others planned.
So my favorite one that I have is actually my first. Right here. I don't know how super viewable that is. Okay, yeah, you can kind of tell. So I had the idea. I was trying to think of a first tattoo that would be really, really unique, something I hadn't seen before. And so I thought, I've never seen anybody get the jazz logo. And of course, my other friend who was really into tattoos at the time said, that's a really good idea. So we were on vacation in Burbank and went to his tattoo artist, and the rest is history there. And then once you get your first, if you enjoy the experience, you just kind of keep going and going and going, and it never stops. And so now I've got a few gaming related ones, some old Windows XP ones. This one scares the crap out of people because it looks scary, but this is from Silent Hill 1, the seal of Metatron from the game. And then I've also got the Resident Evil health indicator, this whole custom thing that's got a long way to go before it's done because we want to do a whole grid in the background. And I've also got a Sea of Thieves tattoo right here that's always like perfectly out of view, but I do have one for that as well.
Awesome.
And many, many more that I would love to do. It's just, luckily when it comes to tattoos, because they're also expensive and time consuming, you can't just go out and get a billion all at once. You gotta heal, you gotta wait, you gotta be on the list because he's got appointments. And so I'd probably be a lot more covered up if I were, super rich. I'd be just tatted out at this point.
I know that. I have 4 myself. I've got more that I've got planned. I think I've got a Over the Garden Wall and Gravity Falls and a Owl House one that I want to get planned, but I also got some gaming ones that I want to get done as well. So I know it's just also finding the time to do that because my time is very limited, plus the expenses as well.
It's always a time and money thing.
Exactly. So I find that you can learn a lot about a person based on what they like very quickly. So I want to do a quick, rapid Q&A session. Okay. I'm just going to ask, and you're just going to quickly respond. Favorite song?
Try my best. Paris, Magic Man.
Favorite music artist or band?
Hey Ocean.
Favorite game?
Okami.
Game dev studio?
Remedy Entertainment.
Favorite movie?
Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King.
Favorite TV show?
Psych.
Favorite activity?
Playing video games.
Favorite vacation spot?
Disneyland.
Favorite food?
Crunchwrap Supreme.
I love it. You survived. Now everyone knows the potential password hit.
Right. I got to go change every single password. They're all Crunchwrap Supreme 124.
So we're down to our last two questions. I do want to ask, if you could go back in time and have a chat with little Robin, what would you tell yourself to prepare for the future?
You know, that's something I've thought about many, many times over the years, and I genuinely don't know what I would be able to say to myself that wouldn't cause some kind of little micro panic, I guess. You know, I never thought in a million years I would be where I am at all. Success is a relative thing. We all have our own definitions of it for sure. And while I might not consider myself to be the success I wanted to be as a kid, I have to admit that I am successful in a lot of ways. You know, I've met friends that have basically become family members at this point. I'm completely independent from home, which is a surprising thing. I never thought I'd be able to move out of my mom's house for many years, but I did it like the year after graduating high school, and you know, all these things. I guess I would have to let him know that even though you're not exactly where you always dreamed yet, you're gonna get there, and you're gonna be able to look around and look at how crazy all this is that you have been able to do, whether it's through luck or those friends you've made along the way that help you out. It's all going to be significantly worth your time. You're not making the wrong decisions, even if it might seem like it at any point. You're not. You just need to stop, take a breather, realize what you're able to do, the privilege of the situation that you are in. The fact that I am able to be here, Sunday or not, be at my desk, my schedule is free and clear. I can go get some work done. I can go for a walk. I can do these things that a lot of people don't have the choice to do whenever they want. I think it's really, really important to recognize things like that as what they are, which is a serious privilege for sure. And I think that's been the hardest lesson for 28-year-old me, almost 29-year-old me to learn at this point, is that even though you're not where you dreamed yet, you're in a great spot. Yeah. You have to understand it. And being here right now, having someone ask things about me is really crazy. I never would have thought that anybody would necessarily care or know who I was at this point. So I think I just let him know just to take a breather every now and then and go, wow, okay, that's pretty great.
I think that's a phenomenal, great advice as well. Do you have any advice to anyone listening who is wanting to be a voiceover artist or a content creator?
You know, that's a question I actually do still get quite often, whether I'm live streaming or in a comment or just sitting in a Discord call with somebody. I do get that a lot, specifically more so the voice actor stuff. Because when I started, I just started. I started calling myself a voice actor. I started bugging people about, hey, let me talk in your stuff. As I distinctly remember, the first times I ever voice acted were for like a Minecraft movie trailer, a fake movie trailer we made. I was sick at the time, and I did a really good In a World voice, you know, when I was really young, and they thought, we have an idea. This will be funny. You just have to start calling yourself that. I think it was James Cameron. I'm pretty sure it was him in an interview. He said that he gets the question, what do I do to become a director? And the answer is usually, as boring as it may sound, you become one. So when it comes to voiceover artist or you want to create videos, you just start. Not right this instant, of course. Like if you have some art in you that needs to come out and you want to make a video or something like that, you start with making sure that sucker is laid out. Make sure you're having fun while you're doing it. And when it comes to being a voice actor, if you want to be one, you are one. You just are now. And all that might entail. Start doing stuff for your friends' projects. I know in high school, I had a friend who made Transformers animations with his Transformer toys, and I was a couple of characters for him. Just start doing it, really. That's generally the answer most people will give you, is just start doing it. Because like I said before, I've never gone to school for it. I've never had any like training when it comes to it at all, which is a good thing. If you get to a certain point and you don't have it, I have heard from a lot of people like another voice actor that I've been speaking to more and more recently, Kellen Goff, who is Funtime Freddy and many, many other things. He's like, it's a very, very good idea to get it. Once you get to a certain point, you're going to want to be taught some stuff. But really, to get started, just start. You know, there's plenty of resources out there, whether it's your friends or something you make. You know, I made a couple machinimas when I was a kid in Minecraft, just so that I'd have something to voice act in, even if it was just for me. So that's, again, as boring as it might sound, that's the way to do it.
I agree. That's something that both Elsie and Baldwin have both echoed as well. Don't say you're aspiring. You are.
Yeah, just say you are. Yeah.
Exactly. So thank you so much for donating your time today for this interview. I really appreciate it. Where can everyone listening find you on the internet? And do you have any content that you want to promote?
Right now, all I'm doing is having fun live streaming over on my channel at It's Boobin, funnily enough. You can find me on Blue Sky at Zycron.tv, on Twitter at ZycronVA. That's really my presence online right now. The places you can follow me and catch me playing. I'm actually streaming and playing Okami right now on live stream on that channel. So love to see people come by, and hopefully you can see me do even more after that.
Would love that. Well, thank you again. I appreciate it so much. You take care.
And thank you for having me. You have a good one.
You too. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, share it with your friends, comment below, let me know what you liked about it, and if there's anyone else you'd like me to interview, love to get them booked. And also, please subscribe to the channel. It's always appreciated. We got new content coming out every week. But until next time, everybody, stay safe out there, make good choices, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.